to this week's podcast. I appreciate when you give me ideas as to what it is that you'd like to hear about. And you'll notice from this week and probably from this point on, we're using a little bit different audio system so that we can hopefully pick up the audio even better than we have before. So our topic today, we talked about teams, we've talked about staffing, we've talked about the structure of making things extraordinary, and that's all fantastic. We've also talked about service and what it is that creates an environment of providing the best service that you possibly can, or giving your patients the best that they can possibly get from you. Well, if you remember that when we talked about that, we talked about three elements, the three S's, staff, structure, and setting. And that in that, staff, structure, and setting, and I'm not going to focus on those today, but I do want you to be aware that they're there. Undergirding all of that, the thing that we have to remember, everything that happens in a practice, whether it's staff, structure, or setting, should be based on excellence. It's excellence that we're looking for. It's excellence that drives people to want to respond, return, and refer in the ways that you want them to. Now, there are a lot of different things that should be excellent, but we know that very few things actually are. There are two aspects, and we've talked about this before, but I'll put them up here as a review. There are two aspects to every practice to be aware of. One is what you do, okay, concerning the patient, or the tasks that actually occur, which in your case is dentistry, or the clinical element of what you do, the clinical aspect of what you do. That's one part, right? We've talked about that. The second part of what you do is around service. Now, I would imagine that you probably do excellent dentistry. You provide excellent clinical care. But the reality is, from the patient perspective, the patient doesn't know whether you do excellent care, good care, mediocre care, or poor. They really aren't going to know that at the time of service, and they definitely won't know it until some time later. And most of the time when they think they know it, they're simply guessing. So if you do extraordinary dentistry, great, but it really has little to do with the patient experience. The patient experience is really all based on service and providing extraordinary service. That is excellence. And it's that excellence that drives people to want to do what you want them to do, to respond, return, and refer. And that's what this whole thing is all about. So think of people that you know who are excellent. Now, when I think of excellence, you know, for me and in my world anyway, sports comes to mind. Business comes to mind. So when I think of business excellence, obviously I think of Disney. When I think of business excellence, I think of people like Apple. So there's excellence in a variety of different areas. When I think about excellence concerning airline travel, you know, again, everybody has preferences and everybody defines that in a different way. You have to know what your consumer says and what they want, what they expect, and what they call excellence. When you know that and you have the data to back it up and you follow the path that the data lays out for you, that's when you get people to do what you really want them to do. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you being here. And remember, it's all about the patient experience.